I've got an amazing interview for you. Very excited. Old friend, but I don't think I've interviewed her in like a year or more. And it's one of these needs no introduction. Empire Files, Gaza Fights for Freedom, everything else. Let's say hi to Abby Martin.
You really phoned it in there, huh?
I feel like
I don't want to bother with an introduction.
I feel like everyone knows you. If I act like I feel kind of dumb if I'm like, if you haven't seen this young and amazing filmmaker, then
young
journalist.
You're really
no,
but I love in typical Lee fashion. You're just like, I am so excited. I am really excited, guys, to introduce. Yeah.
Not give off excitement. I think what it is I realize that our interviews have an energy problem because when I get to talk to you, I'm like, hey, Abby. But that doesn't fit with like talk about Gaza.
That's true.
It's all fucked is what it is, Abby.
So you want to get real morose before
I got it. Yeah, if I go morose at the beginning up top. Sorry, you want me to do the intro?
For your viewers, no, not at all. I think that absolutely not. You are not redoing that. And I want to just express to your viewers, Lee and I are very good friends. We don't talk often. So when we do, it's very exciting.
Exactly. We're on different coasts. Different coasts. Okay. So this interview won't come out for a few days. So it's possible that this first question will seem completely different than whatever new events have happened. But at this time, the new flotilla is headed towards Gaza. And the first one was hit by drones and nearly sank the ship with loads of innocent people on there. And who knows who sent the drones? It could have been anyone. Could have been anyone sending drones at that flotilla. But can you tell us about this new one? And I believe you recently spoke to someone on board as well.
Yeah, this is the new Gaza Freedom Flotilla, part of the Gaza Freedom Flotilla Coalition. It's an effort of international humanitarians, global activists who, for the last 15 years of this brutal blockade and medieval siege on Gaza, have attempted to sail to break the siege. Only a couple boats have ever actually made it through. This was early on. Everyone can remember the infamous moment, or I don't know if everyone remembers this. This woke me up to the horrific situation of what Israel was back in 2010.
Yep.
When
what year? It was 2010.
Yeah. Armara. 10 activists were murdered by Israeli commandos who commandeered the ship in international waters. So 1 month ago, there was a confidential attempt from about 30 activists to sail to Gaza to break the siege before they even were able to gather on the main vessel at sea. A C-130 plane flew from Israel, launched quadcopter drones out of the plane, and they bombed the generator of the ship in order to sink the ship. It was a horrific international terrorist attack that had no condemnation at all from any European leader. No Western leader decided to even make a statement that this was an attempt to sink a ship with all these humanitarians on board. So fast forward 1 month, they decided to go full transparency. Let's just be very open about who we are and what we're doing and make it more difficult for Israel to do this and to sabotage the ship before we launch. So they had this huge, opening in Catania, Italy, and everyone transparently brought everything that was on the ship: prosthetic baby arms, rice, flour, baby formula, and of course, other types of medicine. There's a doctor on board. Greta Thunberg is on board, the climate activist. My friend Tiago Avila from Brazil is on board. It's absolutely amazing
and
that selfless humanitarians are doing this. Oh, in Parliament, yeah.
A member of the Parliament, EU Parliament.
Yeah. So 1 month after being bombed, they're doing it again, and they're risking their lives to break this siege. It's unbelievable. And there's been drones hovering above them nightly to terrorize them psychologically. And we know that sitting senators like Lindsey Graham have already fucking said that they're going to threaten their lives. Like, I hope you can swim. I mean, it's sick.
Yeah, it's all been sick, unbelievably sick. I think most of the world, even if you look at polling, most of the world is just baffled by how disgusting and in your face this genocide has been for a year and a half now. You have done a wonderful and important job covering the genocide in Gaza, and you are also incredibly important in amplifying the reporting of Palestinian journalists. Can you talk about Palestinian journalists, the ones you know, the ones you don't know, and how courageous their work is?
I mean, Lee, it's an unmatched historical tragedy and crime. The deliberate mass murder of Palestinian journalists and media workers. It's been over 120 throughout the course of the genocide. It seems like every week there's a deliberate execution of a Palestinian journalist and alongside their entire family. These are targeted assassinations. It's a horrific crime against humanity. Even withstanding armies in an actual war, it is a obvious violation of the Geneva Conventions to target a journalist wearing a press jacket. But that's precisely what Israel has done throughout the course of the last 20 months. They have basically used this genocide as a cover to take out all the dissidents and all the journalists. And that's why we see actually less coverage coming out of Gaza, because every person that I was following on the ground has been killed. Hassam Shabbat, executed. The latest heroic Palestinian journalist who actually, there was an attempted assassination against his life, and he had to go to the hospital and say, and while he was in the hospital, he said, they're probably going to try to kill me here. And they did. They targeted the hospital and killed that poor man as he lay helpless in a hospital bed. My friends there have been displaced several times. My friend Maz Maza, the videographer from Gaza Fights for Freedom, 5 of his brothers have been murdered throughout the genocide. His father has been murdered. He is, every day when I try to talk to him, I don't know how to relate to him anymore. All I just check in is just say, how are you doing? And he just says, I don't know what to say. Yeah. I don't know what to say to the world anymore. I really don't. And my friend Abu Bakr, who just narrowly escaped because if he stayed any longer, he would be dead. What do you do? Like, what? I mean, the survivor's guilt for the Palestinians who do escape. Abu Bakr will never be the same person. He was 22 fucking years old, man. And he'd already lived through how many wars, how many brutal onslaughts, living in this prison camp. He had never even left Gaza. And now he's in Ireland, separated from his family. It's just sick. It's absolutely sick. Palestinian journalists, we owe them everything, Lee, because we know the billions of dollars that Israel invests to control the narrative. We wouldn't even know a fraction of the crimes that were committed, and we're documenting them all. And we have a debt of gratitude that will never, ever, ever be repaid to the Palestinian journalists who risked everything. It's courage that's unmatched. I don't think anyone can wrap their minds around it, especially not the Western journalists, these disgusting stenographers who just work to amplify Pentagon narratives. They are sick and they're complicit in genocide, and I will never forgive them for their complicity and silence on the most horrific massacre of their colleagues of our time.
Yeah, it's their fucking colleagues, and they don't even stand up for that. Yeah, you run out of words to describe it, honestly. I don't know that everyone knows this, but for your film, you spent time in Gaza. This is well before October 7th. And I was just wondering, I mean, first of all, everyone needs to see Gaza Fights for Freedom. Even though it's pre-October 7th, it's just an incredibly important film, and it can help people understand so much about the apartheid state, about the long-term ethnic cleansing, about so much of it. And I was wondering if you could just talk for a minute about what struck you about Gaza then and what it was like being there.
Well, Lee, I actually never got in because Israel banned me. So I had to work with the photojournalists there.
Oh, that's right. You had streamers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, through the siege, which is just absolutely horrific that, Israel tries to pretend all the time that Hamas is the one who's this kind of dictatorial ruling authority that doesn't prevent the truth from coming out. Israel controls everything. They can ban journalists. They're the ones who let journalists get in and get out. And so, of course, when you're banning even Israeli journalists from getting into Gaza, maybe you should ask yourself what is trying to be hidden from you. But, back when I made the film, The Great March of Return, alongside the brilliant, heroic videographers and journalists who risked their lives to get that footage and documentation of war crimes, I think what was the most apparent thing, Lee, is that unlike the plausible deniability that Israel had with all of these mowing the lawn operations, where they can pretend like it was in retaliation to errant rockets or whatever that are just akin to like a fireworks display, there was nothing like that. This was a completely unprecedented mobilization that was totally nonviolent and peaceful. And it was a march and an action that was supposed to be calling attention to their plight as refugees. So to march in mass and kind of set up these encampments at this artificial border fence that separates them from their ancestral land. As we know, Israel sets up this perimeter zone that prohibits you from straying too close to the edge. They've given themselves the right to shoot to kill. But what we saw at the Great March of Return was the methodical slaughter by snipers, cowardly snipers perched up behind sand dunes of just hundreds of people injuring thousands of people. I mean, they were directly targeting people in the leg, the chest, and the head, direct kill shots from snipers of people who were 300 meters away from the fence, children, medics, disabled people, and journalists. And I think at that moment, I kept thinking, if people only knew, because we constantly hear, where's the Palestinian Mandela? Where's the Palestinian Gandhi? Well, you've killed them all.
Yeah.
They are slaughtered just the same. So that famous quote, I don't even know if fucking John F. Kennedy said this, but whoever said, when you make peaceful revolution impossible, violent revolution is inevitable. Well, it's very clear to anyone who's paying attention, whatever precipitated October 7th, it was a tinderbox. You can't treat people like animals. You can't deprive people of potable water and electricity. You can't deprive people of basic human mobility. And we know that the UN was saying back in 2020 that Gaza was already going to be unlivable because of the lack of clean water. Most diseases in the Gaza Strip were because there was no water. Yeah. Israel had constantly bombed the only water desalination plant. But I think now when you look at October 7th and you're like, how did this happen? It's so obvious how it happened. The arrogance and belligerence that an occupying force has to actually think that you can keep people corralled in a cage and deprive them of basic human dignity and rights. And when you slaughter their only attempts to be peaceful, to mobilize peacefully, well, what the fuck do you think is going to happen?
And what I think of when you're describing the Great March of Return is those things at the time. I mean, they weren't unheard of, but I guess in terms of just peaceful people going against the border fence and being shot down and being just so clearly innocents being killed, like you said, children, elders, everything. At that time, it was like, wow, this is unprecedented, at least recently. It's unbelievable. And yet it's been fucking normalized now. It's like there wouldn't even be a news report on them shooting a child today, or I don't know what I'm saying, but
no. Honestly, during the entirety of the Great March of Return, it was like 220 people that were mowed down. And at that moment, I was like, if everyone only, they're killing that many people a day.
Yeah.
Sometimes in single airstrikes.
Yeah.
That rampant slaughter is something that it's all become a backdrop because of how the algorithms work, the news cycle works, things go in and out of the 24-hour news cycle and just in the periphery. In the backdrop of our daily lives is the mass slaughter and extermination and intentional starvation of babies. This is the propaganda that got us into the Gulf War, that Saddam's forces were throwing babies out of incubators. Right. This has been normalized. I mean, every single act of like the most horrific war crime possible has been normalized. It's like the slaughter during the Iraq War, all those things that defined the worst crime of the century at that moment seem to be weekly in Israel. And that is a very worrisome thing, Lee, because once you set that precedent of having that kind of rampant, unending bloodletting, especially of just innocent babies, that's a terrifying prospect of where we're entering into.
Yeah.
We're flying off the fucking deep end, man. And concurrently, while you have all the politicians gaslighting us and normalizing this and pretending like this is actually humane, meanwhile, you have Israeli politicians just openly, gleefully spouting genocidal intent and practices. Western politicians are lying to us, but also what I've realized over the last 19 months is that there's a lot of people who live among us that are excusing this as well. Because unlike Nazi Germany, you cannot say that you did not know. Everyone knows.
Yeah. I recently did a segment detailing all the signs that Israel is collapsing, or at least things are not good for Israel, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but a large percentage of IDF reserves are not showing up. Hundreds of thousands of businesses have gone bankrupt since October 7th. You have hundreds of thousands fleeing Israel for other countries where they have dual citizenship. And, it feels like the old trope of calling any criticism of a brutal apartheid state anti-Semitism seems to be played out and kind of not really holding water anymore. Do you feel there's any hope there that things are getting bad for Israel, that there could be large scale?
Oh, it's over. I mean, It's totally over. I mean, the sad thing about it is that they will continue. I mean, they will never have that sort of political capital again that they had on October 7th. So they have to go full genocidal, and they can't stop because they know this is their only chance to complete the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and to recolonize Gaza. So they are going for it. And it just happened to be that the most virulent, ardent Zionist in US politics just happened to be president at the time. So that was a really fucked up situation that gave Israel this green light to do what they did. But I will say that Israel will never be looked at the same again. Even before October 7th, already you had these premier, liberal, revered human rights organizations like Amnesty International. You even had Bet Salem, the Israeli human rights organization, declaring that Israel is an apartheid state. That's already a crime against humanity. You can't have a Jim Crow style governing, government that has second-class citizens living there under a military dictatorship. So, there's proper apartheid within 48, but there's also obviously the military dictatorship, which is illegal. And so all of these things, were already realized as a crime against humanity. And that has to be dealt with. As an international community, you can't just let an apartheid state exist. That's a crime. And then, of course, as they start to commit genocide, all of those groups eventually got on board with that declaration as well. You have the ICJ ruling, the ICC Criminal Court Directive, all of these things compounded, as well as dozens of even Israeli historians, genocide scholars. It's so crystal clear that Israel's an apartheid state committing genocide. We've seen polling reflect this as well all across America. I'll just look at America because obviously we're empire babies. We're the reason that this is happening. And American Jews, Democrats, all of these views have shifted dramatically. They flipped upside down the sympathy for Hamas. Some of these polling, the language of these polling is actually really interesting because it's not just support for Palestine. It's literally saying, do you support Hamas more than Israel? And you should see the numbers. The results are pretty dramatic of people saying, yeah, I don't support Israel. Young Jews, especially, who are not going to be hoodwinked by this birthright canard to normalize this occupation. That's not going to be a thing anymore. All of it's gone out the window, Lee. And so what you've seen now is humanity, the lack of humanity and the strength of humanity laid bare. So you see the people who are coalescing, the international solidarity activists who are realizing all of these struggles are connected: immigration, ICE raids, police brutality, the Gaza genocide, our foreign policy, Yemen, all these things are linked. And then you have the people who are actually gleeful fascists, who are unapologetically Zionist, who actually agree with this. And I'm actually happy that all of those people have been revealed, because liberal Zionism, this absurd idea of progressive except for Palestine, it was always a farce. It always was untrue, but it was used as a ploy to try to prey on good, well-intentioned anti-racists, anti-bigots who care about the plight of Jewish people worldwide. So this is no longer going to be a thing to manipulate us and to put us on the defense. People who care about human rights are no longer going to be put on the defense to say, this is why it's okay to criticize a horrific, rogue, apartheid, genocidal state. No, the genocidal maniacs and the Zionists who defend this will no longer be welcomed into progressive spaces, and they need to excuse and apologize for their racism and bigotry. That's going to be the reality from now on. And instead of waiting on politicians to enact international law and sanction Israel, the academic and cultural boycott is a necessity, because we see polling. Clearly, Israeli society has gone full fucking bore genocidal maniacs, dude. 50% want to kill all Palestinians in Gaza. 80% want to ethnically cleanse them all. That's a society too far gone. That means that we need to step up the cultural and academic boycott. And that means everything that you do, everything that you say. Why would Israel be employing millions of trolls online, AI bots, to try to correct the record if that didn't matter? So don't ever think that any act, as small as it may be, does not make a dent. Keep going, keep fighting, and keep changing the narrative, because they are on the losing ground forever. And we have to keep going. We have to keep building the momentum until apartheid falls and we get equal rights for all.
Well said. Before we run out of time, I want to shift slightly to your new documentary, Film Earth's Greatest Enemy. I'm assuming it's about Candace Owens, but I don't know. Can you talk about it?
It is a beast. It's a gargantuan topic, Lee, that we have somehow done it. 4 years in the making, we have tackled the enormity of the topic of U.S. military pollution. It started off just as an exploration of climate emissions, realizing that the U.S. military does not count their climate emissions. They don't calculate them. We hear that statistic that they're the largest polluting force on Earth, but what does that really mean? It just means on paper the amount of oil barrels they purchase a day, which is like 260,000 a day. But when you really dig into what that means, it's so much bigger. That's just the tip of the iceberg, no pun intended. I mean, it really is just enormous. Every stone you unturn becomes another topic of military pollution. So like, we go to COP, we confront all these global leaders about not counting the emissions in these climate treaties. But then after that, we realize, hey, this is so much bigger. This is just about the arsenal, the chemicals that they're cleaning and dumping into the ground, the toxic waste that's accumulated, the PFAS, the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds that they're using to clean the 600 fucking Boeing Pegasuses that it would take the average American driver 120 years to match a single flight mission of one of these mobile gas stations. No other country has this. No other country has these kind of toys. No other country is holding the world hostage with a nuclear gun under 1,000 military bases, under a global military dictatorship. So the cost of empire is really extreme and cataclysmic for the environment. We go from Okinawa to Guam to Alaska, all across the US to basically document and talk to indigenous people about their homes being used as sacrifice zones as they ramp up the next war against their economic competitor. It's a doozy, dude. It is amazing. I am so proud of the movie because it's really akin to Gaza Fights for Freedom. This isn't about getting accolades. This isn't about getting awards and touring around film festivals. This is about a tool for us. Here it is. Here's the tool. Use it. Let's start to bridge the environmental movement together with the anti-militarist movement. Let's start to realize how all of these things fit together, that we actually can't defeat climate change without defeating and addressing the elephant in the room, which is not just the US military, it's the whole structure of imperialism, which is an outgrowth of global capitalism. And we're so proud of the movie. I can't wait to put it out, Lee. It's going to be out this year. We're taking it on a big tour. I hope to see you there, as well as all the people watching. Check out earthsgreatestenemy.com, sign up for the list, and I'd love to have everyone be a part of it.
I'm so excited. It sounds amazing. I know you've been working on it for a long time. Sounds incredible.
I'm very excited. And I confront a lot of these motherfuckers. I get on the Rimpack ship. I'm going, they almost threw me off board. But yeah, it's really fun to just, you know how it is, Lee. Like, it's all about access journalism. So when you're going and talking to these people, they're shocked that you're there doing your real work. They're just like, how did you get in here? It's like, dude, you guys are stupid too. You don't actually vet anyone. So like...
Yeah, I think they just see my hair and they don't let me on. So... But thank you so much, Abby. I always love talking to you. What you're doing is so important. And thanks again and keep fighting.
Thank you so much, Lee. Keep fighting, my friend. Peace.